Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the EduChat series. I hope that you are doing well. Today is the 7th of November 2020, so going on to the first week of the last second month of 2020. So how have been your life? How has your life been for the past 11 months, right? So you're going through a lot. We have finally near our end of the year. So I hope that everyone has been progressing well, especially for teachers and all of the parents out there. Hopefully everything is doing well over there. And for today, we will actually be having a very, very interesting discussion together with very interesting educators that will be joining us today. I'm sure that you have seen all about the info poster that we have shared out. We will actually be speaking with three very interesting educators all the way from Philippines. Today we are going to talk all about education in Philippines and just a little bit of caveat. The one of the speakers, due to unforeseen circumstances, she will not be able to join us today. But however, we will still be joined in by three educators coming from the Philippines. So today it will be very interesting because we are actually covering education from a broad perspective, coming from the younger education towards the junior high and all the way to tertiary education. Now, today, the discussion will be more on towards how have educators and schools, also parents and students, have been coping with the COVID situation all the way in the Philippines. Because I guess a lot of you are aware that the public schools in the Philippines has just resumed following the COVID pandemic. So I guess a lot of teachers has been bringing up to speed on education in putting in their efforts to make sure that education is being resumed in a best overall fashion, right? Hopefully, we are able to have more insight toward this discussion today. And as always, for those of you guys who are watching right now, please do comment down below in terms of which country are you from. We are always very interested to connect with educators from around the world, right? So without further ado, I would like to invite maybe our first speaker on board just to chat with us for now. And the speaker over here will be, I guess a lot of you have seen him and his presentation during our EduNation a while ago, right? So his name is Sir 𝗕𝗺𝗵𝗺. So he's a math educator from Iloilo. So how could we forget that smile? So let's bring up the smile again on to join us today on a beautiful Saturday morning. Good morning, Sir Ian.
Morning, Jay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How's everything doing over there? Are you in school right now?
Yes, yes, I'm in school currently.
Okay, so my first question is that what are you doing now? You should be resting on a Saturday. You shouldn't be joining us on this Edu
Yeah,
Summit.
yeah. Supposedly it's a rest day, but since it's we have a program right now, and it's for education, so we are here.
And how has your past week been? Just a glimmers in terms of the situation in the Philippines, so that we may get some perspective in terms of what's actually happening over there. How's the situation like over in Iloilo?
Well, it's when it comes to education, it's challenging and it's interesting because due to say for example challenges that we encounter, such as we need to achieve a one-to-one ratio self-learning module to learner ratio. So we need to provide each of them self-learning modules because currently, we are on the printed modular distance learning modality because most of our learners don't have stable internet connection at home. So the best learning modality that we can offer to them is the printed modular distance learning.
Right. So currently, you are printing the workbooks and sending to students over in the Philippines.
Yes, there are some self-learning modules which come from the higher office, but then there are some which are not enough for some learners. So we print them out here in school, or with the support of our local government unit.
Right, so I guess we'll be talking more about this shortly in a while. The second speaker that we would like to invite on stage right now, he is also a very interesting character, and I heard that he was once your teacher as well. Is that true,
Yes.
Ian? Right.
Yes,
So
definitely.
and he is currently the associate professor in one of the higher education institutions in the Philippines. He's none other than Dr. Genesis Camarista. So let's invite Dr. Jen up on stage. Hello,
Hello,
Dr.
good
Jen.
morning. Good morning.
Good
Good morning,
morning to you.
Jay. Good morning to all who are joining us today. Greetings from 𝗓𝗺 City in Negros Occidental. This is an island. Negros Island is adjacent to Guimaras and Iloilo.
Okay.
It
So,
also belongs to Region 6.
All right. So a little bit of context, Dr. Jen. What is your current education background, and also which form of education are you currently conducting over in the Philippines?
Yeah, I used to be an elementary school teacher, but at present, since many years ago, I transferred to West Visayas State University. This is now, and started teaching in college and graduate school. At present, I am the campus administrator of West Visayas State University in our youngest, the newest satellite campus here in 𝗓𝗺 City. So I am a campus administrator, but I really ask for teaching load, and so I teach mathematics and professional courses in the pre-service teachers.
Okay, very interesting. And I guess just a little bit of context from the tertiary education side. How's the current situation over there in your location?
Yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic has paved the way to our untimely migration into the digital ecosystem. It led to the evolution of education into another dimension, I think, and has highlighted the basic skills of the 21st century, which is problem solving, creativity, technological skills, among others. I think it also underscored the important role of customization, technology, and mobile devices in learning continuity in the country. And we are caught unprepared for all of this. I heard and I read in newspapers, heard on TV, that people claiming that the new normal is biased against the poor because though tuition and miscellaneous fees are free in the state colleges and universities, yet students need gadgets such as laptops, desktops, tablets, and cell phones, and budget, of course, for Wi-Fi and internet subscription or cell phone load. And this new normal changed our educational landscapes. We can attest to that. It led to misaligned resources and needs, and changed the roles of educators. Now, from being just a teacher in a classroom, now we are facilitators of learning. Right. So, different schools, because we are in the tertiary level, we are a bit autonomous. So, different schools have different ways of meeting the needs of students. So, different modality of delivering instruction. But as to our university system, even in our university system, we have different modalities. The main campus has opted for online learning, flexible learning. They provided tablets to the students, while in our case, since most of our students are in the far-flung areas and in places where internet connectivity is a problem, so we just opted to have modular learning.
And I guess we'll go into more in detail in terms of how you tackle these challenges in terms of students do not have access to certain resources such as digital devices, and in terms of how you conduct your education from that perspective as well. All right. So welcome both of you, Sir Ian and Sir Jen. I guess Sir Mo, we are trying to handle some technical challenges. So it's a new normal. So I guess teachers are facing this on a daily basis. All right, so let's look at coming from Ian's side. I guess would you be able to provide us with a current picture on how the resumed of public school actually got started last month, right? And would you be able to walk us through on how the journey was in terms of the transition phase from when the school was not open on the way towards the situation right now?
Okay. So I'll be sharing my screen. So, okay. So we are located currently here in the Philippines, and our school is here in Panay Island, specifically in Iloilo. And our school is located in the town proper, and it is the biggest school here in our town. So our school has a population of around 1,500 learners, 51 teachers, and we have an average of 35 learners per class. And currently, my education focus, so I am teaching mathematics 3 and 4, and I am also developing learning resources such as books in mathematics as well as workbooks specifically for So currently, because due to the new normal, so we are tasked to make self-learning modules. But in our case, as a mathematics educator, I am currently working on MathBox, which is a simpler version of self-learning modules. And then prior to the COVID-19, as well as currently, we are active. We're active in joining competitions, specifically in mathematics competitions, and these are just some of the winnings of our learners in various mathematics competitions. And due to the new normal, so I, together with my cousins, have devised a learning platform, which is to address the math gaps as well as to make mathematics enjoyable even in remote learning for the learners. So supposedly, Sir Mo will be speaking. So Sir Mo is located in Mindanao, and specifically he is on southern part. And then his school is on Pagadian City Science High School, which is the only science high school in Pagadian City. And as you can see in the picture, so there is a tricycle which has a very unique design. It is
So
angled at
the,
45-degree angle because this tricycle is their a mode of transportation in Pagadian City. And then Sir Mo is handling advanced physics and research too. And he is coaching also various competitions in sciences. And then when it comes to the COVID-19, so as well as in education, so it was, as we can recall, it was March of the year when COVID-19 put to halt majority of sectors in our society, including education. So while education has been temporarily stopped, the Department of Education conceptualized ways in order to ensure the continuity of learning in these precedented times. So with this and continuity plan contains interventions that will respond to the basic education challenges brought by the COVID-19. And it has 5 principles. One is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of the learners, teachers, and personnel. Second is to ensure the continuity of learning. through K-12 curriculum adjustments, alignment of learning materials, and deployment of multiple learning delivery modalities. So aside from that, the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan also aims to facilitate the safe return of teaching and non-teaching personnel to the learners, to workplaces and in schools, taking into consideration the scenarios projected by the Department of Health. Another one is to be sensitive to equity considerations and concerns. And finally, to link and bridge the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan to pivot quality education. So another one is the Department of Education has developed the most essential learning competencies, or the MELCs. So these MELCs the competencies are being reduced to the most essential to cope with the academic instruction. And currently, these are the learning delivery modalities that we have here in the Philippines. One is face to face, but for now, since it is the time of COVID-19, there is no face to face classes going on here. So, aside from that, we have other learning delivery modalities such as distance learning, which includes modular distance learning, which could be of printed or in digital form. And here in our case, in Cabatuan Central Elementary School, we are adopting the printed modular distance learning modality. So aside from that, another distance learning modality that we have here in the Philippines is the online learning modality, wherein the internet connection as well as the gadgets is needed by the learners. And another one is we also have TV-based or and radio-based instructions. Next is we have homeschooling, wherein it is a home-based learning environment facilitated by a qualified parents, guardians, or tutors who have undergone relevant training. And another is blended learning, which is a combination of the learning modalities. So I think these are just some preliminaries on what's going on here in the Philippines, Jay.
Okay, right. And towards the past 1 month, right, as dealing with students and parents and such, right, you speak about using different modes, including having TV and radio education as well. How effective and how was the response like from the students and parents during the past 1 month?
So for the past 1 month, there are also challenges that parents as well as the teachers and also the learners. So one of which is the adjustment of the learners in distance learning modality, because for now there is no face-to-face instruction. So and it is very difficult for the learners to understand, although that it is called as the self-learning modules, but then since we are dealing with the elementary grades learners, so those kids really need the further discussion from the teachers. So I think that's one that we encountered, one of the challenges that we encountered. So aside from that, there are also children who have no or learning facilitators or no qualified learning facilitators with that. But it's good that there are the LGU or the barangay officials has conducted measures on how to help these kids, such as
Right.
they search for qualified volunteer mentors to conduct learning sessions to these kids and be able to help them in accomplishing the tasks.
Right, right. And Ian, could you tell us about a day of your schooling life right now as a teacher? So during the weekdays, right, what happens from morning all the way until evening? Would you be able to tell us in a day what happens in your daily life as a school teacher?
Okay. So as a school teacher, so we are currently reporting on duty at school. But then since it's really a new normal because there are no children, since no face-to-face classes is allowed. But then we have also works to do, such as for me, I am a math pack writer of the schools division of Iloilo. So I am writing or crafting learning resources in mathematics, specifically for grades 2 and 5, because those are the the grade levels which I am assigned to make a math box. So one of the tasks that I am doing every day is making the math packs, as well as I am also assigned to quality assured the works of other writers here in the schools division in the making of the math packs. Aside from that, I am also answering the queries of the parents as well as the learners on how they work on some exercises in the math box on which they are confused to do. So usually they communicated with me through Facebook Messenger or either SMS. So we discuss on how to do this, or how to do this kind of activity, how to answer this. But since it's mathematics, it is very challenging to on how to do it using SMS. So what we did was we created a group chat for parents, wherein if one parent would ask for that, so as soon as I open the messenger, so I make parallel example on that, and then on how to make or how to answer those certain kind of problem.
Right. Okay. So in a way, it's more of like balancing between a publishing company coming out with materials for students and customer experience personnel to assist parents and students to on a day-to-day basis on any questions. Wow. Okay. So very, very interesting stuff. I would just like to shift the focus on towards the tertiary level from Dr. 𝗕𝗿𝗺, Dr. Jen. So would you be able to share with us in terms of the situation over right now for the tertiary education as well? How is the situation like, and what are the current modes that are being utilized by teachers, educators, lecturers in conducting day-to-day lesson plans?
Okay, it is said that our migration into the virtual world came sooner than expected. Everybody was caught unprepared. However, somehow our homes and schools have trained us to be flexible, be able to adapt fast to the new normal. I think the pandemic sends us a very strong message to that we will not just teach content in school, but really problem solving. That's why I am really an advocate of integration of problem solving in every lesson that we have. And so for now, the teachers are adjusting still because we are used to the traditional mode, which is on-site, residential, classroom, traditional teaching. But we have no choice but to migrate into the virtual. And the problem is only very few schools are capable of providing online classes. Most schools have students who come from far away, far-flung areas, without any internet connection at all. And so most schools opted to have or to implement the modular mode of delivering instruction. And not only the teachers are struggling, but of course the students too. The college students in the Philippines, I think, are still very dependent on the teachers, on school. And this time they have no choice but to study alone at home. And it is good only maybe for students who are in the city proper or those areas with internet connection, so they can have access to different, to classmates and to the different resources, websites. But the problem is for those students who really feel alone at home and they have no one to ask from. One student even messaged me in the messenger a few weeks ago telling me that he cried the whole night because he really cannot understand this lesson, and no matter how hard he tries, it is just too difficult for him. And so I have to communicate this to our teachers to be a bit lenient, to stop first imposing deadlines, because according to this boy, it's deadline already and I have nothing to submit because I really cannot understand the lesson. And so it is also, I think, a realization to all teachers that if we are struggling to adapt to the new normal, how much more our students who for the first time will be studying without the support, the aid, the assistance of the actual teacher. So that one. And another one, I think the parents are also adjusting.
And sorry, Dr. Jen, I just want to find out, right? When you first hear about your students crying and telling you, hey, I can't catch up with the lesson plans, right? What was the self-talk like? What goes behind your mind when you first hear that conversation with your students?
I really thought that he's not the only one having or experiencing this thing. And so I really communicated to the teachers right away. Find out among your students in your group chats who else find it difficult. So I told them to stop imposing deadlines. And I told the child, you don't have to submit your assignment now if you have nothing to submit. Please communicate with your teacher. But without him knowing it, I also communicated with the teacher. So they can start talking about the problem. And I also addressed this among my all other classes to really come forward to tell the teacher what their problem is. Although we made a survey during the first week of the semester as to their needs in terms of technology, access to internet, yet it was done as a campus-wide survey without us considering every individual need of the individual student. And so I really tell my students, if you are shy, if you're embarrassed to raise your concern in our GC, you can PM me. And so one time, Jay, I even told the class, if you have problems that you don't want the others to know about, you PM me. And you know what? One time, I think it's around 6 o'clock in the evening, after I posted that in our group chat, somebody messaged me and told me, sir, I think I will not anymore continue my schooling because I am living alone now. I have no one to support me. I have no one to ask money from, and that's it. I am living alone in my boarding house, and that's a very sad story, especially thinking that a student, a child that young, will be living all alone. I cannot imagine how it feels, especially that I grew up in a very supportive family. And this is just one of the many, maybe, out there.
Right. And wow, it's really a balance between having just the basic necessity comfort and moving along towards education as well. And from all of these incidences that you have just described to us, right? What adjustments have you or the team of teachers made in order to better work with students that may be coming from a less fortunate environment or facility from that perspective?
Yeah, one thing is we constantly communicated with the students. Not only also the class advisors of the students are requested to communicate with them regularly. We created group chats for the class presidents only. We created group chats for every class that we have. And I even made a letter yesterday to be sent with the modules that we will be sending next week. So addressing to each individual student, telling them to just hang on, to keep on studying, to pursue their dreams despite the pandemic, because this will soon come to pass anyway. And this is just one trial that we are facing now. And if we come out successful, they come out successful, then it will be for their family and for themselves.
Okay, and probably I would just like to address this question to both of you as well. In terms of the progress of the syllabus, in terms of certain deadlines, right? So we talk about the progress of the education. So currently right now, how's the adjustment like in terms of students completing their credit hours or teachers fulfilling a certain academic completion of chapters in a certain syllabus? How was that adjustment like? Is that still a priority? And would you be able to take us through on that perspective?
In our case, together with the first batch of modules, we sent course outlines, course syllabi to the students, course guides, stipulating the deadlines. So for instance, the first 2 weeks of the semester, these are the deliverables of the students. They are going to submit this. Although our gathering, collecting of the outputs of the students is done monthly. So actually, we only had collected once so far, the outputs of the students for September. So because we are really advised by the CHED Commissioner, the Commissioner of the Commission on Higher Education, and of our university president to be lenient to the students, be pro students, understand their situation. So though we impose deadlines, yet the students may opt not to submit, and we do not give them deduction points for that. So far in my experience, most of my students submit on time, and they communicate. They tell me that, sir, if I cannot submit this one, I'll submit it next time. And so I think it's fluid. They get their modules, they answer, they submit to the LGU. By the way, Jay, our setup is this. Our school partnered with the LGUs where we have students. So maybe around 13 to 14 local government units, municipality or city surrounding the school. We partnered with them, and we asked from the mayors a focal person who will be doing the collecting of the modules. So we bring the modules to the focal persons, and the focal persons give them out to our students. Then our students will go back to submit their outputs to the focal persons, and then we retrieve the outputs. Except at times when we are the ones really going to the door-to-door or to the barangays, and because we do this at times. So it's a good partnership between the local government unit and the school. In the other schools, I heard are doing the same.
Okay, so pulling in resources from everywhere else that we can find and to really ensure that the communication, if it's not being done online, then there is an offline community that is continuing on with all of the transition and the transmuting of all of the informations as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And what about from Ian's side? How's the situation over in Iloilo as well as coming from elementary schools?
Okay, for elementary as well as in secondary schools, in public schools here in the Philippines, it's almost the same setup as what Sir Jen has mentioned. But then usually the distribution and retrieval of the modules is weekly. So usually the parents come here to school every Monday or on any designated day. There are some grade levels wherein they opted to have, say for example, Friday or Thursday the submission or the retrieval of the modules for not to flock in coming to school, as well as to observe the safety health protocol set by the Department of Health. But then when it comes to submission of the requirements, so the Department of Education has reiterated although that we have set deadlines, but we need to be flexible in dealing with this kind of things. So I think that's all for the elementary as well as in secondary public schools here in the Philippines.
Okay, so it's almost like pizza delivery every day on Monday. Everyone, please come and collect your pizza. right? And then, so I
Yeah.
think the most important question is that after the pizzas has been delivered to the kids, right? Did they consume the pizza? How was the current feedback like when you ask them on a weekly basis? Did the kids actually consume the information or the modules that is being given to them? Yeah, considering elementary school, I just want to find out from that perspective as well.
um, the kids are at first the kids are really excited to to get the modules because it's the first time for this kind of learning delivery modality. So they're very excited for they're waiting for their parents to come home and then bring bring to them the modules. But then I think one of the challenges is that there are some modules which contains overwhelming activities, and kids are really new to this. So I think kids are not really prepared for the independent learning considering their age. So I think that's it.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of funny, but I am thinking of two things. Maybe because the learning of younger kids, elementary pupils, is a family affair now. Maybe let's have another course, some short-term training for parents on how to teach. And then that's number one. And number two, maybe we can make our modules, our learning materials, we can make parents a part of that. So this is to be done by the mother, and this is for the kids' task. So anyway, they are involving in the teaching of their children. Hopefully, even if we go back to the face-to-face classes or mode, still I think this is a good thing to experience that parents or the whole family is now involved with the education of the children. So I think that's a very good idea.
Right. And I guess to add on from Sir Jen's perspective, right? You know, when you're sending the pizzas or the modules to the kids and the parents, right? You know, at the start when you receive something wrapped so nicely and they're opening up, oh, there's like a lot of excitement. It opens up, oh, it's work. Oh, I have to do this work and this work. So it sort of like drowns out the perspective. So, okay. So Ian, maybe what we can do over here is that, you know, when you open up sort of like a puzzle box, open the first page, welcome to the first assignment. So the mystery one, solve this mystery before proceeding to the second page. And if we do it like in a game or a more fun, engaging method, that can involve parents as well. Probably we can do something like that. Yeah, because you're teaching mathematics, right? So there's like countless opportunities that we can do to make it fun in a way. We can really let's see how we can do it as a family affair, like what Dr. Jan is saying over there, right? But currently, is it something like that whereby you prepare activities and how okay, so there's two parts, right? So students will have to consume information, so they have to learn something, and then they have to do some exercise or work, right? A form of assessment, right? How does the process actually work, like, and also for Dr. Jen as well? How does the process actually work from there?
In college, I think the teachers were, in our case, in our system, I think the faculty have prepared for this. So they came up with modules, learning packets that have the content that are needed, because we studied the objectives, the course description, the goals of the course. Okay, I think maybe our problem only is those activities which need to be done actually, or those practical activities. Although we make provisions to the courses that need internship, like practice teaching, internship for the HRM students, we did not offer these courses this semester. Instead, they will be offered next semester. So hopefully next semester will be we will be okay already in terms of travel, so that we can have face-to-face classes already.
And for Ian, what about from your side? How does the process actually work? Like when you actually send a module to them, is it like a straightforward basis? It's just that pre-COVID, these are the modules. It's just that right now you are compressing it into like different small modules to be passed on to students and teachers.
Yeah, the modules are being sent to the kids, and then they work on it together with their learning facilitators at home. And then upon accomplishing the modules, they will send it back to the school, and then teachers will check how
Right.
how the children progresses. And then when it comes to assessment, so we have two components for assessment. One is we graded them through written works, which could be in a form of quizzes or summative tests, as well as in performance tests. So in
Right.
mathematics, what we did was we devised this assessment materials. um, since it is we are on distance learning, so we print it out in a bond paper, the the test items, and then give it to the parents upon claiming the modules, and then kids will answer that at home. But then when it comes to assessment, parents were briefed that assessment is a shared responsibility between the school as well as the family. So the purpose of the purpose of the assessment is to measure how the kids progress, or how he or she has mastered that certain skill. So with that, we encourage parents to let the kids independently do the task or the assessment work. And then aside from that, we also made the note for the parents as well as the learning facilitator, emphasizing again the purpose of the assessment.
So in a way, teachers right now, it used to be that you are the only one that is teaching, but right now you have to train the parents to pick up sort of like the role of becoming a teacher as well.
Yeah.
So walk us through the process on how it feels like to when you're communicating parents that, hey, this is how you should teach your kids. This is how does that process actually work in that perspective? Because it used to be parents are putting the responsibility to teachers and educators. Hey, you're doing it, but right now it's sort of like the responsibility is being divided equally from there as well. If I may say, more on towards the parents because
Yeah.
they're staying with the kids more, right?
Yeah. So I think parents think that it's very challenging to teach their kids. So usually that's their feedback, that
Right.
it's very challenging. It's very difficult to teach their kids. And since now that the curriculum is very different way back their time, so they are also adjusting on how to answer or how to accomplish those tasks assigned
Right.
specifically on mathematics.
Right,
So
right.
there is one parent who chatted me way back, that he told me that, sir, I cannot, I do not know how to answer this certain exercises. So can you provide me certain example on how to do it? So he chatted me around that's late night already, because he told me that she really wanted to learn how to teach that certain problem, how to attack that certain problem. Um, she uh, she diligently is studying how to answer that, because she told me that, sir, I want to study on this right now, because tomorrow morning when my kid will wake up, I will be teaching him how this works. So I need to understand how this certain process works, so that um, I can fully understand and be able to explain to my kid how this works.
Okay. Wow, very dedicated parent from there. And I guess from Dr. Jen as well. do you work with parents in a way that does the students do you actually get involved with the parents and or the team surrounding the students in your delivering of classes on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, for college students, we don't anymore. I don't think it is needed. I think the students will not like it. There are some students who are texting me, chatting me, telling me, "Sir, when will be the face-to-face classes resume? Because we don't have in this setup, we don't have allowance, and they don't want to stay at home. But if they go to school, they have allowance. So it's funny. And students this big, this old, around 18 to 22 years old now, do not like, I don't think they like us to communicate with their parents. Although in very important cases, we do that if there are issues, if there are things to settle. But for the classes, for the lessons, we no longer communicate with the parents.
Right. And for Dr. Jen, just wanting to find out the ratio of all your students, right? Out of, say, 10 of your students, how many actually have access to internet access as well as mobile devices?
I have a data for that, but I cannot access it now. But I remember around 70 to 80% of our students do not have a stable internet access. So that's why we really did not entertain that idea of having online classes. It has to be pure modular. But they can use their cell phones, sometimes look for areas with signal, and then maybe go to the mountain, climb a tree, climb their, stay at the roof of their house.
Wow.
Or on a rock, just for them to have the signal. So we were advised to really refrain from conducting online classes because this might lead to accidents.
Right, right. You know, I was watching a documentary recently in a country, I forgot where is it really, somewhere in South America. And the place over there, the situation is that they don't have internet access at all in that country or village. However, the piracy of movies, right, is at an all-time high without internet access. So how do they do that? And as the person went in to investigate further, what they found out is that, hey, so if you imagine a city, right, of 10,000 people, right? So what they do is that they use hard drive as an access. So for example, if 10,000 students, 10,000 people in one location, they have sort of like 10 or 15 different hubs, right? So this different hubs is sort of like a master that guides all of the movies. So they could download it from overseas or whatsoever, right? I'm not supporting piracy, by the way. I'm just talking about the concept of transferring information. So they might get the information or the videos or movies from America, for example, and they will bring it into their main center. And what will happen is that, let's say, for example, in this city, the 1,000 people will all bring their hard disk to this location, to that person, for him to copy all of the movies to everyone's hard drive. And they have a list of all of the movies. So the guy can tell, okay, I want movie 101, 102, maybe Dark Knight, Interstellar, for example. And then he will copy it to their hard drive. And what happens is that every Monday, then they would just go in and copy the hard drive. And that's how they manage to transmit all of the informations without internet access at all. So that's a very interesting case. I'm not sure if this kind of a concept is implementable. I'm not sure over in Ian or Dr. Jen's situation.
Yeah, I don't think so. But our LGUs, the government is trying its best also to provide our students with this. We have the DICT, the Department of ICT, in the respective LGUs providing internet connection, but not yet to the far-flung areas.
Right, right. And yeah, so I was discussing with few teachers as well. There was a discussion of whereby, say for example, if 5 teachers are teaching the same subject, right? Let's say for example, elementary school 4, right, on mathematics. So all of the teachers will come together, and what will happen is this. The teachers, some of it will be in charge of liaising with all of the parents and students. So they have very low internet access. So what will happen is that every single household, right, in their class, right, they will give them a thumb drive, right? So a very cheap thumb drive. And then the rest of the teachers, what they will focus on is that they will just create video contents. And what happens is that they just record chapter by chapter by chapter, and every week they will upload that video into that thumb drive and distribute it in terms of the modular aspect. And what they say is that it saves them a lot of time because they don't have to go to Microsoft Word to type out all the words, right? They can just teach just like how it is in class, right? And then just copy the chapters into that thumb drive. So it solves the problem for parents not being able to teach the kids, and B, either the parents just need to have a Android phone with a USB plug in, and they are able to continue that education process for the students, right? So I'm not sure if this is something that is has been implemented or has been thought of in your location. I would just like to find out on that as well. I thought it was a very brilliant idea.
Yeah. In our university, in the main campus, the university provided all the students, the college students, tablets. And so what they did was to install, to upload all the lessons with the ebooks and with videos, so that and give out to the students. And then, of course, the students now have access to that.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So everyone will have at least a tablet or a mobile device to access information during this time. Okay, right.
Yes.
Okay, and as for Ian, is this something implementable from your side?
I think there are some schools in Manila wherein the local government unit also provided the tablets for the kids. And then the tablet contains the learning resources as well.
Okay, right. That's a good thing as well. Okay, speaking of which, we have Mr. Muhammad Ali ready on board. So I'll be bringing you up, Mr. Muhammad Ali. So let's welcome Mr. Muhammad Ali, coming from Pagadian city from the Philippines. Okay. Hi, Mr. Muhammad Ali.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, everything good over there? Everything has been sorted out?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, is everything sorted out over there? All good, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, currently right now, how are you, Mr. Moel, number one? And number two is that, where's your current location in right now? Are you still in Pagadian City?
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm still here in Pagadian City. I'm actually I've been teaching for more than a decade, so I'm teaching science education. So I was listening to your talk earlier about those strategies. So it's very interesting to note. In our school, 90% of our students have access to internet, so we don't have so much problem with that. Although we opted for printed modular learning because that's what the DepEd said. No? We have to stick to that. So, however, we also have some strategies on how we can follow up our kids. I don't know if Ian was able to print different challenges earlier, but so far we're good. Although this week school will be shut down because it will be used as isolation facility because the number of cases in our city is increasing. So we're still trying to figure out how to continue our our classes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we can call you Moel, right? Everyone calls you Moel.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So Moel, could you give us a context in terms of what age group are you currently teaching, and also the numbers of students that you're currently engaging?
Okay. So our school is we have junior high school and senior school. So the age range would be 12 to 18 years old. Yeah. So since we are science high school, so not everybody can study in our school. No, we have what we call entrance exam. No, so we have a certain number of students. We have limits. So in my class, I'm handling grade 10 students. So 14 to 16 years old. So in my class, I have 32 students. 32. So our maximum students number of students is 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning that about 90% of them has internet access. So how's the
Yes.
situation? It's a totally different ballgame than what Ian and Dr. Jen is experiencing. Would you be able to share with us
Yeah.
from your perspective how education process is like on a day-to-day basis?
All right. So what do we do? We still do the usual, like the parents go to our school and they have to pick up hard copy of the modules. However, in terms of, since we don't have face to face, so we need to do some follow up. So what we do is we use the online we have what we call virtual online support. So essentially, not the usual support that we do, because we don't do lectures online, right? Because it's going to be costly on the side of the students and for us teachers. So what we do is we do virtual support. So we have this called 𝗟𝗺𝗃𝗀𝗃, where let's talk. And what I do personally in my research class is that prior to our online meeting, students are asked to provide what are the concepts that they did not understand. And then after that, during online, we're going to focus on those questions or concepts which they did not understand at all. We also maintain a group for our parents, because we have to work side by side with our parents. We have to make sure that we keep track on the progress of the students. So we communicate with our parents, we also communicate with our students. So it's basically, it's two sides that we need to communicate with. But we also make use of the SMS. Yeah, SMS.
And would you be able to share with us how the day-to-day process looks like? Is it like a daily basis that you have online classes? How do you conduct the classes as a whole? And how does the assessment process look like?
All right. So what we do is we do have scheduling. Like in our class, grade 10, the schedule of picking up module is every Tuesday only. But when I do the virtual learning support, I usually do that every Wednesday, because Wednesday is my off, meaning I work at home because we have schedule. So Monday, Tuesday, we need to report to the school, and then Thursday, I have to stay, work from home. So during my work from home, I have to do the virtual learning, actually. That's how it works.
Right.
But it's the maximum is 2 hours. 2 hours.
Okay, right. And I think I asked this with Ian and Dr. Jen as well. How was the feedback like from the students and parents during the past many weeks? How did they responded to this form of education?
Well, actually, they have mixed reactions. Some parents would say that it's really difficult because aside from they're busy, most of our parents are working parents. So they have little time to help up with their kids. No, so some parents would say that it's completely okay, although it's kind of hard for them somehow. So they're adjusting. For our students, they find it really difficult. That's the setup, because it's sometimes they don't understand concepts. It's very difficult.
Right. And so I guess from Ian's side, right, would it be sort of like a dream for you to actually have all of the students being able to access online from your perspective?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, Ian, can you hear us? Okay, I think you're muted right now. Okay, yeah. So I think Ian, you're working very closely with 𝗵𝗊 as well. I think.
Yeah.
How was the collaboration like in terms of the unison between different schools and in conducting programs like this amongst teachers?
Um, Moal is teaching in high school while me is teaching in elementary. So I think what he is doing is really different from ours because he is teaching a different subject area compared to mine.
Right, and I see that Moel, you did actually conducted sort of like a lot of different competition, leading your students towards a few competitions during this COVID period as well. Would you be able to share with us more details with regards to that?
Okay, so recently, because in our school we have a debate club, so I am the moderator of our debate club. So I ask whenever there's opportunity, I make sure that I share that with my kids. So recently we had the ASEAN Youth speech where two of my kids, our students, made it into the finals, and in fact, the champion in the ASEAN speech was our students. So our students. So I think even if it's already pandemic, it's good to provide students with opportunity to not just competition but to somehow grow and hone their skills, I think.
Right. And how is the training process like when you talk about debate, right? So in training them from distance using virtual, would you be able to walk us through how do you train them during this situation?
All right. Essentially, we do have our group chat in our Facebook or Messenger. So what we do is we discuss first what are the possible issues that they need to talk about, and then I provide them with the different sites and websites, and also they also provide share websites that they have visited, and then from that we do virtual conversations. Like, okay, I'm going to ask these questions. How are you going to respond? So what if? So essentially, we have online conversations, and sometimes I require them to submit their speeches through virtual, and then I have to edit and then submit it back to them. That's how it works.
Right, right. So it's an old manual way of back and forth using online, email, messenger, and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. And okay, so I just maybe open the questions to everyone in terms of how did you all feel like currently right now after 1 month coming from the public school as well as from the tertiary school? How is the your current state of emotion like right now in compared to the start of the transition, right? And how do you think you are able to move forward for the next 1 or 2 months to come, leading on towards 2021 as we are awaiting the arrival of the new year? And maybe we can start with Ian from there.
Yeah. I think I am still adjusting with the setup because we are still editing the modules for the next quarter, as well as we need to check the progress of the learners by checking their work on the self-learning modules. But I think with this kind of setup, um, I am I can also adapt to it in the coming months. Yeah.
Right, and for Dr. Jen?
So far, I'm done with the modules of my classes for the first semester. What I'm doing now is preparing their outputs. We already checked their outputs. I'm packing them to be included in the next batch of modules to be distributed next week. And so far, I think nothing much to adjust in my case because I only have 3 teaching loads. Most of my work is administrative. We just have a lot of meetings. They say that the new norm is not respecting our time anymore because any time of the day, even at night, we have webinars, we have online virtual meetings, even on weekends and on holidays, we have meetings still. So I think it's different. But so far, for going forward, the routine will be similar. Distributing modules, collecting, checking, and so on. And yet we are now on the verge of making the modules for the second semester. So that is for the modular approach because, as I have mentioned earlier, most tertiary education institutions in the Philippines opted for modular.
Okay, and leading on towards 2021, right? So the new year, how would the current education structure adapt in conjunction with the new year, with the new syllabus, with the new intakes of students from there? How does the college or the university adjust towards the newfound situation that we are having now?
I think even if face-to-face meetings will already be allowed, online learning will still continue. We can still implement this. At least we already have tried that. If research will prove that it will be effective, then we can really make it a part of our educational system. I think there are advantages, especially for students who cannot go to school actually, and for those students who are working. I now have students who are working while being enrolled in our school because they can manage their time. They can discipline themselves to do schoolwork, maybe in the afternoon or at night, while working during daytime. And at least that is a big help to the family, knowing that around 1 million Filipino workers were displaced because of the pandemic. So it's difficult really especially for those who have students going to school. And so students working while studying, it is, I think, a very big help for Filipino families now.
All right. And by the way, for those who are watching right now, no matter where you are from, if you have any questions for Sir Ian, Dr. Jen, and also 𝗵𝗊, please do comment down below so that maybe we can have a conversation with you. Share with us what are the questions that you have if you are from the Philippines as well. How's your situation like over there in your school? We would like to hear more about it from your side as well, right? And 𝗵𝗊 as well, leading on towards that, any comments on what we just spoke about to cover on what Ian and Dr. Jen has spoken about?
Okay, first, in terms of how do I feel about the current setup, for me it's very challenging, and it's in the sense that sometimes it's difficult to separate your personal life and professional life. But moving on, I think it's going to be we need to do a lot of work in terms of how do we assess our students, in terms of the strategies, because it's difficult really to assess do assessment. So I think same with answer, we're going to continue with the modular and maximize more online resources. Yeah.
Right. And I guess moving on towards that as well, I was just going to find out from all three of you as well, from towards teaching the kids, right, or students in terms of time management. It used to be that students go to campus or the school, and the schedules are all already being determined for them, and they just follow on towards the day-to-day schedule according to what has been set to them. But as of right now, time is as of unlimited to them. They have all the freedom in the world to do whatever they please, right? Are there any emphasis from teachers or educators to really guide students? Hey, how can you better plan your time during COVID, or when you're staying at home? What is the best way to make best use of your time? Aside from academic-wise in finishing their homework, are there any emphasis to really guide them, especially for the young ones, on how to take more responsibility in making the best use out of their time during COVID? Yeah, maybe we can start with Ian from there.
I think the Department of Education has programs on that for the learners to support them in or to make them as a holistic individual. So there are psychosocial support provided by the Department of Education. So those programs are being shown via television as well as in Facebook Live.
And how did your students respond? Did you actually find out from them how is their day-to-day life like? Say for your students, do they actually make most of your time? I was speaking to one of the teachers, and they were telling me that, hey, Jay, do you know that most of the time, after the online classes, they will go straight to online games, YouTube, and they're playing the latest games from there. For those who have internet access, I'm not sure from your case, how was the students making use of their time during COVID?
So it also varies from learner to learner. So for those with gadgets, same situation also goes with that. Kids would really hook up to gadgets that after they have done with answering their modules on a scheduled time. So it is the arrangement between their parents that they have to play with their gadgets. But for those students who don't have gadgets, so they don't have problem with that.
And as for Dr. Jan as well, any emphasis from towards that? I know that you work very closely with a lot of your students in a very personal level in terms of caring for their mental well-being as well from that perspective. Any points to add on from there, Dr. Jan?
Made my syllabus, my course guide, I really made it a point to include in my introduction part accountability as a very important value that our students must develop among themselves. I told them that this time you have less supervision and assistance from the school, from your teachers, and it's more of your accountability to learn. And I really tell them that you learn, you try to learn things for the sake of learning and for the sake of yourselves, not because you want to get high grades, not because you want to pass exams. This time you really learn things because you want to become the best teachers that you can be someday. And so I really stipulated that in my course guide, and I included the timeline. So for weeks 1 and 2, these are the things that you will do. Even if you will not submit that requirement yet, just do that. Just stick to the schedule that I placed in your course guide. And then I advise them to have a schedule at home. I told them, this is not the best chance for you to help your parents, to help the household chores in the farm. And so I do not stop you from doing that, but you must stick to your schedule, study schedule. So I explain to your parents that you have things to accomplish, and you do that every day, not just when deadline comes already. So that anytime you're ready to submit your outputs, and you submit quality things, you submit excellent outputs. So far, I think it works with my own students.
Okay, right. So I guess in a way you sort of like put in a schedule for them, or
Yes.
allowing them to set their own schedule, make sure that they have that accountability aspect as well. Okay. And would you be able to share with teachers out there that may find this very useful from that side? How was the feedback? Number one, how was the feedback like from the students? Did they actually manage to follow through in the schedules in terms of the deadline? And secondly, how do you actually implement this in a structured manner for those teachers who might be watching now or later on?
Communication is very important, and since in our case we adopted modular mode of delivering instruction, it is important that we stipulate things in our course guide, in our course syllabus, especially right on the first day of the semester. And so before the schedule of delivering modules to our students, I really made it a point to include all necessary instructions to my students, including what I have mentioned, which is the schedule for every task. So, for instance, weeks 1 and 2, you do chapter 1. And these are the things that you are going to deliver. These are the things that you need to submit. Prepare them already. Weeks 3 and 4, these are the things that you will be submitting. This page of the book you answer, this attachment you study and answer, because I not only they answered problems in the book, but I also made them read articles for their reflections. And so they have to do that also. And we have other sources. And I really communicate with them from time to time and asking them what their problem is and so on. And during the first time that I gathered modules, I really posted in our group chat the names of those who submitted to see to it that everything is accounted for. And so indeed, there are some students who said, "Sir, I submitted already my output in this center." And so we have to look for that. We have to go back to the center and check whether it's there. And so the students will know. And the others will tell me, "Sir, I was not able to submit because of this and that." And so I have to tell them to submit next time. And you can still do better next time. You beat the deadline if possible. And so that's what I do in my class.
Okay, and let's move on also to Moel as well. I guess we will highlight more on the challenges on the next question as well. So maybe we go on with Moel as well. Any comments from your side as well?
Okay, hello Jay and everyone. So actually, on our end, we do have this called weekly home learning plan. So essentially, students are given tasks weekly. There's a schedule. In that weekly learning plan, schedules are the goals that they need to achieve. The outputs are written there. So how do they respond? It's pretty similar to what Ian said. It varies, no? Because I usually ask parents when they pick up modules, and they told me that most of the time the students do not follow the schedule, because what they do is they tend to finish the whole task in a day or 3 days, and after that they spend the other days doing other things, mobile legend, whatever. So they that's how they work for them, no? So it's very challenging to monitor whether they will follow the learning plan. But the weekly home learning plan is very nice because it will provide students to really stick to the goals, just like what Dr. Jen has said. It's important to provide them this type of guide, no? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I think echoing on towards that as well, a certain structure has to be in place. Teachers are much more like a chief in commander, leading on towards an army of students, especially for Ian and Moel. Your task might be a bit more steep in a way to guide students
Yes.
to competitions, right? It's definitely kind of a challenges. I guess speaking of which as well, what were the most interesting things that really happens during your experience during education during COVID? I know I heard a lot of good and bad, interesting stories from teachers. A lot of them, the most popular one is telling me that, hey, Jay, do you know that we started off with a class of 40 in my online classes, and then after 2 or 3 weeks, only 3 turn up onto my class. And a lot of them, when I tried calling them, they block me off from WhatsApp. They're not responding to my call. They block me off from Messenger. So that was quite an interesting discovery from teachers as well. And they have to make adjustment, and they start to slowly learn to add in more interesting avenues to engage students as well. Yeah. So maybe we can start with Ian as well. Is there any interesting experiences that really make you learn and really rethink about how you should approach education as a whole? Maybe you can share with us on that, Ian.
Okay, sorry, I didn't pick up because I think my line
Yeah,
was
yeah,
waiting.
yeah. We were talking about some interesting activities or interesting stories that you have encountered during the past few weeks with your students, the good and bad as well, and maybe share with us what have you really learned in terms of how you adjust to the way on how you conduct education from that interesting experience.
Okay, so kids would really be challenged with the self-learning modules, given that we are on printed modular distance learning, and there is a little supervision coming from the teacher as well. Also, it is an issue for working parents. So, what is interesting or what is funny here that's happened is there are teachers who also has kids. So what the we are discussing about is that it's funny that they are teachers yet they lack time in facilitating the learning of their kids, because most of the time teachers report here in school, we sort out modules, and then we check the modules that our learners submitted. But with the working parents and specifically with teachers, so they lack time on following up their kids, how to teach them, because when they go home, so they go home late already, and the kids would be sleeping, or the kids were exhausted doing the task by themselves. So that's really a funny story, because they are teachers yet they lack time teaching their kids.
Yeah, and as you say, teachers are in your school are practically split between becoming a syllabus publisher, a syllabus publishing company, and as a customer experience manager as well. So yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice coming from teachers as well in conducting classes for 40 students, 50 students, and more. And often at the cost of sacrificing their own child's education in that process, right? Ian, do you have any little children or any siblings in that you have to take care of?
No, in my case, no.
Okay, so you're all still solo, carefree, focusing on Educator as a whole. Yeah. Okay, right. And as for Dr. Jen, maybe you can share some of it from us, from your perspective.
So far, but I think the pandemic, though it's negative for the others, for me it opened up many opportunities. As I have mentioned, maybe in one of our chats, disruption is equal to opportunity. So this is an opportunity for me to go see places, houses of our students. So this, I think, one of the most memorable experience I had was when I went to my student's house, and I was able to see with my own eyes how difficult his life is now. I used to see our students in school as they are, but it's one thing to see them in school, it's another thing to see them in their houses. And the house is dilapidated, it has no door at all. It's made of light materials, and I cannot imagine that that student is living in that house. And so it really broke my heart actually. I even posted it in FB, though of course I did not mention names. And so this student, I was supposed to fail the student in our last course last semester because of his I think absences and tardiness in class. And I just realized lately how far his house is from our school, and he cannot stay in a boarding house because he has nothing to pay for the boarding house. And so it's good thing that he was not able to fail, because he really promised to be on time and be present the rest of the semester. And he had his classmate vouch for it. He wrote me a letter that I will never be late and absent again. And so it's one beautiful thing that happened is when I posted this in FB, there are people who responded. And my former pupil before, who is now living abroad, sent him some amount of money. And I think there are two of them. And they promised, hopefully it will continue until the student will graduate. So seeing the reality of the students' lives in the respective homes, I think, is one very important learning experience for all teachers, because it makes us understand our students more. And then I had one student also who messaged me and told me that, sir, can you give me more, another set of modules, because our house burned our house got burned last night, or I think this afternoon, and I have nothing left. And so I found it funny at first, because it seems that the house being burned is not big deal. What is big deal for her is the modules that she lost. And so it's funny, actually. And of course I have to rush the following day to go to their place and bring my own module to the child, because this is what she wants. And when I posted it in FB, more people came in and chipped in, and we were able to bring goods, all the things, no, some things that they need at home, which the amount we collected was able to buy, and some cash, of course, for the family. And so these things happened during the pandemic, and the bayanihan spirit, one very important value in the Philippines, is at work now to the fullest, because of the pandemic, because of the problem that we face. Everybody comes to the rescue, everybody contributed his part, everybody volunteers, and it's a very beautiful thing to see. One positive thing that the pandemic brings to us.
Right. I guess speaking on towards what you have just discussed just now, when you actually walk into the lives of students, right, and you get to see the perspective of life from their, say for example, the first students where they might not be in the best financial situation. What actually went through your mind after experiencing that? Did it really change how you approach education, or how you construct your education programs in the future in guiding students that may come from a difficult or challenging situation? Anything change after that experience from your side?
Actually, I've been helping students ever since, because I come from the same. I am from where they are now, so I can relate with them. And I always think that if I'm rich, I can put up a foundation to help these students. But in my condition, I always say I will just help change the world one student at a time. So whatever God brings my way, I help. And I enjoy some of my friends, my former students, some families close to me. When I share stories like this to them, they usually come. They help. And so, but in school, I'm still the strict teacher in terms of attendance. And so when that boy told me, sir, my house is far from the school, and I have to wake up at 4 o'clock and watch for jeepneys to come at from 5 o'clock. But still, I cannot come. Sometimes I'm in our 7 o'clock class, and so I have to tell him, "You are bright. Use your problem-solving skills." And I just say that to students most of the time. And I don't know to put balance between discipline and compassion, because I always told them, my house also when I was in high school was 5 kilometers away from school. But I never come to school late. That's from Monday to Friday, day in, day out, year in, year out for 4 years. I never go to school late, because even if I had to walk for 1 kilometer, 1 hour, that's 5 kilometers one way. It means 10 kilometers a day for me when I was in high school. And so I told them that just discipline yourselves to wake up earlier. If you cannot wake up early, then sleep earlier so you can wake up early. So I think we put a balance between the discipline, compassion, and we just feel things. But I know, even if I'm strict, I know my students know how compassionate I am towards them.
Right. And I guess very well said as well. I guess from that perspective, rules still have to be followed. I can be compassionate and empathy of your situation. However, it's a good learning platform to get them to use this life situation as a way to discipline themselves and to make themselves grow better and to be stronger from this perspective as well. I guess we can talk more about this on the students' management and understanding of students shortly in a while. I'd just like to go to 𝗵𝗊 as well. 𝗵𝗊, are you there, 𝗵𝗊?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. So any memorable experiences or stories that actually came out during the past many weeks while conducting education in this situation?
Yeah. Before the school year, begins, I was very excited. Okay, I'm going to do online class. No, but later I know I tried using Google Meet, and then I realized that I don't know how to use it. So yeah, it's I'm not really techie person. So it's yeah. So I realized that okay, I don't know these things, so I have to ask students because some students know better the technology than I do. So yeah, it's that's funny for me because we have to admit that we don't know everything. So in terms of that technology, so I learned from my students how to use that technology. And right now I'm also a student because I'm pursuing my PhD. So we're doing online class. So I'm really struggling to get in with our online class with my PhD. So with this experience, I realized that maybe my students are also experiencing the same difficulty on joining our virtual learning support. So I am with this, I become more, understanding and patience in terms of how students behave during our online class, and also in terms of the submissions of requirements. Because during the face-to-face, I am very strict with the submissions of requirements on time. But right now, I have realized that I have to give time for my students, especially in my research to class, because most of my students, they told me that they're having, they're struggling with research. So yeah, that's another challenge that I need to figure out how I'm gonna help my kids understand the lessons. So yeah, that's all that I can share.
Right. I guess speaking from a student yourself as well, right? What are the most challenging
Yeah.
instances as you yourself as a student, right? Aside from the technological perspective, right? In continuing on with your very own education during this time.
I think the most challenging part is sometimes how do I manage my time in terms of working as a as teacher and as a student. And there are many instances as I was really having hard time understanding the lessons online. So I realized that maybe I'm not good as a student in terms of understanding lessons online. So yeah, that's something that I need to ponder in terms of the how we understand the lessons virtually or face-to-face basis.
And I guess looking on towards challenges as well from Ian, Dr. Jen, and 𝗵𝗊 as well, leading on towards education from this perspective, right? Possibly the current situation might actually go on for a few weeks to come, for a few months to come. How would you be preparing yourself or as an education community as a whole in preparing for the next few months to come leading on towards 2021 as we approach the new semester, the new year? What are the new preparations or what is currently being prepared from your side leading on towards the next new semester and the new year? Maybe you can start with Ian from there.
Okay, so currently we're still doing or we're still reproducing the modules. We are waiting from the higher office for the modules for the coming weeks as well as for the coming months. But there are also there is also a news that maybe the department would have be providing the kids with the books also, the modules that are compiled in a book, so that it will be lasting for the kids to use. Yeah.
Right. What about? I was just wanting to find out as well in terms of the flexibility of teachers to create your own modules, right? In terms of that, how much freedom does a public school educator or the public school education community has, or how much control do you have to create your own syllabus when working with parents and students as well, Ian?
So when it comes to creating the self-learning modules, so usually the self-learning modules are coming from the higher office. But then for learners from kindergarten up to grade 3, since the medium of instruction is on mother tongue, so the division the division offices opted to have a division initiated learning resources, wherein the writers are coming from the division, from the schools here in the division, wherein we created the self-learning modules that are suited to the context as well as to the interest of our learners here in our locality.
And for Dr. Jen, yeah.
Teachers are provided with scholarships. Our university, and maybe 𝗟ED in general, the Commission on Higher Education, is topping sponsors and partners abroad for scholarship grants. Actually, I am now in a scholarship grant. We have online classes every Tuesday and Wednesday, and this is in one of the objectives of the short-term course is redesigning modules to ready for the post-COVID era. And so some teachers are also having trainings for this. And then for our university, it was planned that our students, including the satellite campuses, will be provided with tablets already. So we were instructed to procure higher bandwidth of internet connection, so that in the second semester, our plan is for 50% of the students to stay in school while 50% at home. And then after 2 weeks, they shift. And according to our president, during the time when they are in school, they will download we are going to upload in their tablets all the materials that we can have, online materials, so that when they go home, they have so much to study, to read. In this way, the learning will be continuous in school and at home. So far, if the situation improves, we have that plan for the second semester. That's beginning, I think, February onward.
Right, and I would just like to add on towards that in terms of the future plannings, right? We talked about some students or families might not be at the best financial situation. Are there any form of transferring of knowledge in terms of life skills for students, because we're talking about students which are 20 plus years old, that they might already have the ability to have sort of life skills to really have some form of money-making skills or entrepreneurship skills. Are those being provided, or does students actually have access towards aids or guidance on towards this, considering many might be in dire need of financial assistance? Yeah.
For university students, I think that is not formalized, but we have other agencies of the government doing that. For the 𝗟ED, they provide scholarships to students. Actually, the LGUs also have scholarships for students. But as I have mentioned earlier, as we discussed earlier, the students can actually work while studying in this time because they stay at home. And so I think this is the first time that I'm hearing it from you, that we can also train the students to possess the life skills, and so that they can actually work while studying. So I don't know until when will this setup be, so that if it will still go on up to the second semester. I think that's a very good thing to consider, that the school, the universities, the colleges will also provide these skills to students so that they can work while studying, and this will help the families a lot.
Right. Yeah, and the reason why I say that is because recently we saw a couple of news from local and internationally as well that 12 years old kids, right, in helping their family, so their family sells local cuisines like cookies and things like that, and they took a huge suffering and hit from the COVID. And what happens was that because the 12-year-old actively pursue on towards life skills like this, they actually set up an online shop, right, to help their auntie to sell foods online, and that is sort of like a very practical life skill that because with the technology that we have right now, anyone can actually learn this skill and to be able to implement it during this pandemic time. And I guess especially for livelihoods of university students, when we talk about mathematics, right, being able to apply it in daily life and to really make actual profit rather than teaching them, hey, this is how you calculate profit, probably might make more importance to their lifestyle. I'm not sure any comments on that, Dr. Jen, in really allowing them to have those kind of livelihood skills, especially during these difficult times as well. Yeah, because I know a lot of very bright 20-year-old with the correct exposure, their imagination and their ability to do things is really out of their mind and not restricted only on towards the academic achievement by itself.
I think we are not yet in that sphere. We are more of bookish, I think, in the Philippines, in college. We have students who are working already, but these are just a very small portion of the population of students. So I hope that this pandemic will pave the way to the conceptualization of that thing. That we need to provide students with life skills so that as early as senior high school or college, they can be working already. Just like some of my former pupils who migrated in Canada, in the US, telling me that right after school, in high school, they go to work. And they sometimes have two jobs. That is while studying. And they post in FB, in social media, that they were able to purchase a tablet, a cell phone out of their weekend salary. I mean, that's very big deal already in the Philippines. And most of our students are still dependent on their parents, even after graduation from college. And even if they have children already, they still stay with the parents in the same house. Although there are positive things on that, but then that kind of being, that dependency on some other people financially, I think hopefully will be improved post-COVID era. That this pandemic will teach us that everyone has to find ways, has to be creative, has to be resourceful in looking for jobs, for works to augment the income of the parents.
Right. Yeah. And I guess from towards that, I guess not only on towards students, hey, you have to find ways to make money, but say, for example, for those coming from the younger students, right, is to really teach them that, hey, you're not here only to have the ability to consume or to receive help or from others, that you can actually provide some form of value. It doesn't have to be money making, but say, for example, you could actually share things that is valuable during this time to your friends, your families, your communities as well. Say, for example, if your friend is having some difficulties in their studies, hey, you can actually reach out and help each other as well, rather than waiting for others to come and make changes to your life. You can actually make an impact yourself, especially during this COVID time, right? And I guess a switching of mindset to allow them to take more power and more responsibility on their effort to provide values, no matter how big or small. It could be just sweeping the floor in your house to help your parents to save more time on their working responsibilities. That could be a very, very good start from towards that perspective as well, right? Yeah, and of course, moving on towards more L as well. Any comments on towards what Ian and also Dr. Jen has spoken about?
Hi. Right. In terms of first, I agree that in this pandemic we need to teach lifelong skills like entrepreneurial skills among students. In our case, in terms of how do we move forward, currently we are continuing to evaluate our modules that we develop because we have elective subjects. So we need to continue developing the modules and assessing the modules as well. And in terms of, we're also planning to really switch to giving the modules online because of the increasing cases of COVID positive in our locality. And in terms of structural side, like how do we move forward? I think we cannot decide on that. We need to wait from our divisions, our higher officials, because since we are division science high school, so we have to abide whatever the decisions of our divisions. Yeah, so it's going to be a very challenging road ahead of us, but we can, with our perseverance and having the right attitude, I guess we can move forward with these challenges.
Right, and I just seen a comment over from here from Facebook user saying that, hey, we will be launching an entrepreneurship program for students. I think it's coming from teacher Tina, right, to launching that soon. So we're looking forward towards that, and interesting to find out what students can really derive out of this pandemic and what kind of value students as a whole can really provide from this context, right? So I was just want to divert probably the focus of the discussion on towards empowering students during this time. We had quite a chat with Dr. Jen yesterday in terms of the students' emotional well-being and mental well-being as well, on how students may be affected due to the inability for them to reach out to friends and to have a normal life on towards this. But from teacher Ian's perspective, right, from elementary schools, how was the students' emotional state currently, like 1 month into the continuation of school October?
Okay, so for elementary, there are kids who are still excited in answering the self-learning modules, but there are some, especially those learners who belong to the bottom section. So they usually struggle on how to adjust with this kind of learning setup that we have.
Right, and what was being done in the case of teachers identifying that, hey, some students are really struggling. What were the efforts being done to really engage with those students over there?
Yeah, for those students who are struggling, especially those with no qualified learning facilitator at home. So it's good that the local government unit through the barangay officials, so they initiated this finding the learning facilitators. So the learning facilitators are usually, these are the SK officials or the Sangguniang Kabataan officials or the youth leaders in the barangay. So they are being tapped, and then they teach the kids on a specified time during the community learning sessions. Also, I have heard from one of the schools here that they also have learning facilitators who are education graduates but are still waiting to be employed. So they volunteer themselves in during the self-learning sessions. And usually this happened in a remote barangay here in Iloilo.
All right. And yeah, and by the way, Ian, you do have some more slides that you would like to show us as well. Is that?
Yeah, for our challenges, yeah, we have here with together with Moal. So can we bring it up?
Yeah. So I'm bringing up your screen, Teacher Ian.
Okay.
Right. So right now we are looking at your screen on learning delivery modalities.
Yeah. Just hold on a second. I think there's a glitch. Okay, so first here, I think Sir Mo would give us a glimpse on one challenge on availability of resources that they are doing in their place. Sir Mo.
Okay, hi. So, of course, no, with the pandemic, we were surprised and we were not prepared. So, there was an issue as how are we going to raise resources, right? So, one challenge that we identified is availability of resources. So, how did we address this? We did resources mobilizations. Uh, we did online campaign. We use social media uh, to generate resources. So we also partner with some stakeholders in our community. So as a result of this, we were able to generate a lot of resources which we are enjoying or using right now uh, uh, during the past month of opening of the classes. Yeah, that's we call that Brigada Escuela. It's actually an annual program of the Department of Education. So the concept is more of bayanihan spirit, like working together, the community, the school, and stakeholders. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. For our second
Uh,
challenge, we have the readiness for
yeah.
the learning delivery modality. Yes, Sir Mo.
All right. So in our case, since most of our students have access to internet, so we conducted virtual orientations of parents. This is 2 weeks before the opening of classes for us to really, guide the parents what to do, what not to do. So those are the things that we did during the virtual orientations of parents.
If
Over to you, Ian.
yes, if Sir Mo have virtual orientation of parents, so here in Cabatuan Central Elementary School, we have the face-to-face orientation of parents to know to let them know of their responsibilities as well as on how to guide their kids for our learning delivery modality. So aside from that, for the readiness of the learning delivery modality, so we conducted simulation wherein we conducted from printing out of modules and then sorting them out, placing them in envelopes, as well as parents coming to school on a scheduled time. So they are wearing face mask and face shield, and then follow health protocols to get the self-learning modules. And then a week after that, so they returned that to school. So we simulated that to make sure that everybody will be guided for our learning delivery modality. So aside from that, another challenge that we have is on teachers' readiness. So for teachers' readiness, so the Department of Education has conducted webinar series as well as capacity building for the teachers, not only for the teachers, but also for the learners as well as for the parents. Next, for teachers' readiness, so Sir Mo, over to you.
All right. So in our case, in Pagadian City Science High School, in order to prepare teachers in the new normal, so basically we did a lot of learning action cell sessions. So it's in the learning action cell, we talk about what are the challenges, how do we address them, what are the things that we need to prepare. And then we also did peer mentoring. Also, we do it two ways, virtually, and we also had peer mentoring face to face. Yeah. Yes, Ian.
Another, yes. Another challenge that we have is on the alignment
Okay.
of learning resources to the most essential learning competencies. Since that we moved from the competencies listed from the curriculum guide to the most essential learning competencies. So the learning resources needs to be aligned with that so that it would cater to the needs of our learners. So we make the division initiated learning resources as we wait for the resources to be provided by the higher office. So aside from that, we have another challenge, which is on the lack of learning modules, Sir Mo.
All right. To be honest, there are some modules or some subjects which the Department of Education were not able to provide. So in our end, we did teachers collaborations, like we in our divisions, not all selected science teachers gathered together to develop learning modules for the elective subjects. Of course, in our school, we also had development of learning modules by the subject teacher. So I am the one spearheading the development of modules in our school. So it's still ongoing though. Yeah, but it's important that to address this kind of challenge, collaborations among teachers is very important.
Okay, and then another challenge that we have is on achieving the one-to-one self-learning module learner ratio. So we partner with stakeholders, specifically with the local government unit, on the reproduction of the self-learning modules. So, and aside from that, aside from the local government unit who is generous enough to support us with the reproduction of the self-learning modules, so we also receive donations coming from stakeholders, specifically from alumni, as well as private organizations. So we have received 250 reams of bond paper as of the moment, 40 bottles of ink, as well as 11,000 pesos worth of reading materials for beginning and struggling readers. So these reading materials are given as supplementary materials for learners who are usually at the lower grade levels. Another here is for the health safety. So for the health safety, so we have signages at the entrance of the gate, as well as we installed hands-free hand washing facilities on the way near the gate. Then we have make sure that physical distancing is properly observed here in the school. So we had the signages, and then we also have health form. So visitors coming here to school would fill out the health form to ensure that they don't have symptoms of COVID. So they need to subject themselves to thermal scanning to check their temperature, as well as they need to wear face mask and face shield all the time here in the school premises. Then Sir Mo, for the health challenge.
Yeah, still part of health and safety though. Of course, on our end in our school, so we had to schedule the distributions of modules. So, for example, in my class, I have 32 students, so the parents were divided. Oh, I'm dead.
Okay, would you like to add something, Sir Mo?
Right. Moel, are you there? Okay, so probably Ian, if you can proceed on for the moment. Yeah. Then maybe we'll get Moel to add on later on.
So for the next challenge,
Init na kaya akong phone.
Ay, oh.
we have monitoring of
Wala,
the
napanom
learning
ko.
Kami, gamit na ako.
Ayan,
to
na naman.
ensure that the learner's progress is being properly monitored. So we had our social media platform. We utilized the Facebook Messenger group chat wherein we communicated with parents as well as with the kids to check the learner's progress, as well as we utilized the SMS. So another thing or another challenge that we have is on monitoring learners' progress. So in this case, Sir Mo, are you there? So in Pagadian City High School, Science High School, so Sir Mo, they have a program called the 𝗟𝗺𝗃𝗊𝗪, wherein it is a virtual learning support given to the to the learners who they meet at a certain schedule to discuss the concepts which are challenging or not clear among the learners. And then another one to monitor learners' progress. So as what I have mentioned earlier, so for the learning facilitator, so we have the support coming from the local government units, specifically from the barangay officials, from the SK officials, wherein they gather the kids for the community learning session, as well as in some cases, there are some schools who co-opted to have volunteer learning facilitators who are education graduates. And the same thing happened that they gather the kids in a certain area for a community learning session. And then in some cases, teachers opted for home visitation to check the progress of the kids. And another one is on learning assessment. So since that we are using the printed modular distance learning modality, so we have the remote assessment wherein we just sent out the questionnaire and then let the kids do the assessment and then return it back here to school with the parents. But also we encourage kids to have self-assessment so that they could really check their progress. I think, Jay, these are some of the challenges that we had here.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, very comprehensive report from Ian and Mo. I think Mo currently right now, it's offline right now, but let's see if we can get him back online. But I see that there's a lot of progress in making sure that each step of the way, including the students' learning processes, as well as how they are learning, monitoring of it, and engaging the parents, everything, I see that the teacher community over there are doing a spectacular job in having all of this structure in place in within a short period of 1 month, and that's a very congratulative effort from all of you over there in Iloilo. So yeah. And it's definitely not easy to coordinate all of this, especially to get everyone involved on the same page. But tell us about how the experience was like for you yourself, Ian, when trying to organize and getting all resources on together to make sure that all of this step of the way are being closely monitored and being conducted in a best manner effort basis.
So at first, this is very challenging, but with everyone's help, with the collaboration of everyone, so we have gathered these data, as well as we generate resources, as well as We have tapped the various stakeholders to be one with us in delivering quality education while we maintain the safety as well as yeah, that's it.
Right, and I see since the last time that we spoke about, I seem to see that you smile a little bit less a bit, Ian. So has the process actually requires a lot of effort and time from your side to really coordinate this? I know that you work from the administrative end as well as the leading end of the perspective as well.
Yeah, I can say. I,
Never mind, never mind. Yeah, but yeah, congratulations on the effort from that side as well, right? So I guess shifting on towards Dr. Jen as well, looking into the efforts that is being put in from the elementary and the grassroots public school level, coming from the tertiary level, what are the kind of efforts that really unites all of the educators from the tertiary school level to really work together in form of delivering education progresses during this time?
I think it's much different. The setup for the basic education in the Philippines is top-down. Most advisory come from the central office, cascaded down to the school level. However, in tertiary, in the higher education institutions in the Philippines, it's different. I think it's per university, per college. So I cannot really generalize. Every college has its own strategy, has its own ways of dealing with the problem, with the challenges that we have now. So it's per college. So we cannot generalize these things. But in our university, I think I have mentioned many already. Our president now is very active, is hands-on. He even had already scheduled last time town hall meeting with the students, only the students. So to solicit the problems of the students, concerns, issues, and that's a very good thing to do, because the students, for the first time, they said that their voices were heard by the top level management. And in our campus, I already have scheduled of that for that next week. So to talk, to have a chat session with our students, with the students who have at least access to the internet. And so modules are being prepared still for the second semester. There's some materials to enhance the modules that we already sent in the first batch is being done still. I think it's more or less that in the higher education, it's much different from the basic education. I don't know if you have the same setup in Malaysia.
Right. I guess from our part, a lot of it, what I've heard from different lecturers from universities, that they are currently conduct online-based education. I guess some students may have difficulties in internet access, and well, I can't speak for everyone, but different campuses would have different. I was just speaking to one of the students over in university, and what they were saying is that they have a very scheduled classes in the morning and in the evening as well. So it's almost like transitioning on towards a live session, towards an online session. So it's a very schedule-based program, and all the works, submissions are all being done via online as well. So that's what last I heard from there. I haven't really get hold of those who are really having difficulties accessing to internet. I'm not sure how's the situation like for them, but overall I can see is that the transitioning process is currently all online in a very scheduled manner from there. Yeah, so probably we can, yeah.
In the Philippines, I think only the big universities in the cities, in the city proper, have implemented the full online learning. The rest is more of flexible, modular learning because I think it's much different. When I went to Malaysia, the internet connectivity is very fast. It's so fast. I even downloaded so many videos there. Yes, when I went there, right, Yan?
Yeah.
Even in the moment you step into your airport, in the hotel, it's open access. We don't need passwords.
Right.
But of course, it's different here in our country. So I think that's one thing our president is also advocating to provide internet connectivity to all. Hopefully, before the term of our president ends, this will at least be 80% completed.
Right.
So it's one beautiful thing that will happen.
Right. And I guess a very interesting question over here to Ian and Dr. Jen, assuming that if internet access was not an issue at all, assuming, right, so best case scenario that everyone has the best internet speed in the world, do you think that the current module or content is sufficient enough to provide a quality education during this pandemic, assuming if that everyone has good internet access?
Yes, I think so. It will be very interesting to both the students and the teachers. Although it will be a challenge in the initial stages, in the first few months, transitioning, migrating into the virtual world. But then at the end of the day, I think everybody will get to enjoy it. We will have more access. Students who cannot go to school because of some problems can already go to school. They can even work while schooling. There are so many things that can happen if we have full online learning, if internet access is not a problem.
Right. Okay. And what about Ian from the elementary school side?
Yeah, for elementary, I think that would be very interesting because as of now, kids are really techy, or they really love gadgets as well as the internet. So we in elementary, uh, as elementary teachers, so we can give the kids the games, yeah, the game like structure in teaching, so that it would be very interesting on their part, as well as they will be enjoying while they is learning.
Okay, right. I guess, we have been chatting for the past 2 hours and 40 minutes. Probably we're going to bring in this into a close. But I guess before the closing statement on towards that, we spoke about the overall aspect of the Philippine education in facing COVID and also the efforts of different schools and teachers bringing in different structures and solutions onto this, right? So any final thoughts from Ian and also Dr. Jen from your perspective in looking forward towards the future in dealing with education for the next few months to come? Mhm.
Okay, so as educators, I have three things that I learned. One is we need to learn to unlearn. Second is we must value our health because health is wealth. And third is we need to stay positive because as educators, we need to be learners too. We need to learn to unlearn the things that we knew before that are not suited to the present distance learning. So that's why we should keep ourselves to be abreast with the current trends in education by joining webinars, trainings, and the like. So second, let us remember that health is wealth. So our health should be our top priority. How can we teach our learners if and address their concerns if we are unwell? So that's really a big question. So once our life is lost, so it is forever lost. So we need to balance work as well as care for ourselves. And another is, despite the adversity that may come along our way, so let us remain positive, positive with dealing with our work as well as outlook in our life, but not with COVID. So we should always bear in mind that our main duties and responsibilities, and that is providing quality education for our learners. Thus, we must and should not be tired of providing quality education that our learners deserve.
Okay, very well said. I hope to give you an applause over here. I don't have the button, but I presume that a lot of them are giving you an applause from there. Yeah. And from Dr. Jen, yeah.
So I would like to thank you, Jay, for this chance. This is the first time that I experienced this, and it's fun. This chance to share my views, our stories to all the teachers out there are listening, and hopefully we inspire them a bit. The world has experienced pandemics before, but the world is still here. We still have our world as beautiful as ever. Humanity is still thriving. It's just one segment of history which tests our character as a people, as a nation. So we are gifted with intelligence and creativity. So I believe that we can innovate. We can find ways to rise above all the challenges we face. We do not know what will happen tomorrow, for sure, or later. But what I am confident of is if we have God on our side, we can come out victorious, really. And if we have that hope in our heart, we can make this, we can still improve the world so that the next generation will still thrive as we thrive today. So to the teachers out there are listening, we join our forces, we join our hands to come up with a more beautiful Philippines. Despite the pandemic, we can deliver quality education to our students. It's tested and proven. We can rise above the challenges.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Jen, and also Ian from there. I guess for Dr. Jen, hopefully in future, let's probably have a discussion within different tertiary educators, right, from different countries as well, in really talking about education, right? Because education as a whole has been a very generic term. A lot of people mean different things when it talks about education. It's very debatable and especially a very interesting discussion to see how do we define quality education and how do we really ensure that the education really can help the livelihood, to improve the livelihood of our students and also the community as well. So we look forward to have you more on board as well, Dr. Jen, and also Ian as well, in discussing on this matter as well. So we definitely look forward on towards that. Thank you once again for joining on towards this EduChat. And also for Moel, I guess technology and as well as internet facilities is always a challenge. As I've told Ian, let it be. It's good that he's able to bring in his insight as well. Moel, if you're listening towards this, thank you so much for joining in towards this education summit as well, education chat. Yeah. All right. So I guess on towards that, let's call it a day for now, right? And let's look forward towards more progress in the coming months to come. Very challenging days ahead, Ian. I see that a lot of progress has to be done by teachers on a daily basis. So take rest on a Saturday, right? And for you as well, Dr. Jen. Very inspiring story. I hope more teachers can be as caring as you in really understanding the situation or the conditions of the students, especially during this time, right? Many of them are maybe fighting a silent challenges without us knowing it, and hopefully teachers can be an angel for them and coming in as a supporting aid and to lift up their life, especially during this time, right? Okay, so I guess from towards that, we have to reluctantly send both of you off. We look forward to more sessions with you in the future as well, Ian and Dr. Jen. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you too. More power.
Thank you so much. All right. So thank you, Ian, and thank you, Dr. Jen. All right. So there you go. That was a a very, very interesting discussion from Sir Ian, Dr. Jen, and also from Mr. Muhammad Ali as well. So talking about the different perspectives on education from different education levels. We talk about how every school, coming from elementary school, from the junior high school, all the way to tertiary level, how they are as a whole dealing with the current COVID situation in the schools. And as I can see, a lot of efforts that has been contributed by teachers, not only those who are speaking today, as well as those who are working behind the scenes, right? So we would like to congratulate your effort in bringing through your effort towards this time. And we've seen that there's a lot of different innovation that has emerged, especially on different structures, on how teachers are monitoring the efforts of parents and students, as well as the communication between both parties as well. And I hope that this actually shared some insight to teachers out there, including those, I see that there are those watching from Nigeria, from different countries as well, in with regards towards this as well, right? So I guess let's call it a day for now. So this is Jay Wong here signing off from my EduChat series. So if you have any questions with regards to EduChat series, if you have anything to contribute, if you want to share your message as an educator on this platform as well, as always, please do email us on hello.edusummit@gmail.com. We would love to hear stories and experiences from you yourself as well. And moving on towards this, November is a very, very interesting month, right? So next week, we will be having another EduChat series. So every Saturday, as always, I would just have to share this out. Every Saturday, we will actually be having an EduChat series whereby we will be speaking and chatting with an experienced educators on different education topics, right? And moving on towards November, we actually have, if you have seen on our Facebook page and our Education Summit group, you have seen that there is something very exciting coming on, which is on space exploration and space education. What is it about? We will be announcing very soon, very, very soon, right? So thank you all of you who have been tuning and joining with us all the way from 10:30 in the morning. So it's lunchtime, so I'll lead you on towards this, and I wish that you have a very good and very blissful weekend. And I will signing off, and I will see you next week on our next EduChat series. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.